quorum yet, so we'll wait on a couple more members, but we can do a lot of house cleaning before we go straight to bills and have to vote on some of those. We want to welcome everyone. This is the first meeting of 2023 for Veterans, Military Affairs, and Public Protection. So we're so glad y'all are here, and a good packed house there, and it's probably because we got some great legislation coming down the pipeline here. So at this point, I'm going to let Logan call roll call. Let's see, gets us close here with John and Brother Chris.
Representative Blanton.
Here.
Representative Bojanowski. Representative Bratcher. Representative Dietz.
Here.
Representative Dossett. Representative Freeland. Representative Fugit.
Here.
Representative Gooch. Representative Hart.
Here.
Representative Johnson.
Here.
Representative Cook.
Here.
Representative Lewis.
Here.
Representative Maddox. Representative Massaroni.
Present.
Representative Proctor.
Here.
Representative Raymer.
Here.
Representative Stalker.
Here.
Representative Stevenson. Representative Tackett Lafferty. Representative Wesley. Vice Chair Sharp. Chair Thomas.
Present. Did we just miss it? Oh, we got a quorum. All right. This next, we're going to stand and do the pledge, but please remain standing, and I've asked Representative Johnson to lead us in prayer also.
Bow with me in prayer, please. Dear Father, we thank you for this opportunity that you've given us today. Thank you for this opportunity to come together. We thank you for the opportunity to serve our fellow man, to serve our Kentuckians. We pray that you guide us in all that we do. We pray that you'll also lead and protect us as we do your work. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right. All right. I'm going to do something real quick. I just want to send a shout out down in my home district to Fort Campbell High School. They're actually on virtually. So kids in the class down there, we appreciate you sitting in and listening and watching in on this presentation. And we encourage more schools to do this, especially if you have ROTC or something along in your school. We'd love to have you sit in on some of our committee meetings with us. So just wanted to give out a shout out to Fort Campbell High School. We're going to go ahead and honor one of our members here, a distinguished vet. And let's see, I believe that is a Representative Massaroni. Is that your vet?
Yes.
Okay. If you want, can you introduce him or her, and we'll get started.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure today to introduce Jerry Janes, who is not only a hero to our nation as a Purple Heart recipient, but a hero to our Nelson County community for his years of continued service. Jerry is the chairman of the Bardstown Nelson County Veterans Park. He has worked many endless hours to bring this park to our community. He's also a board member of Museum Row, the Civil War and Hal Moore Family Museum, vice president of the Nelson County Chamber of Commerce, has coached Little League, and is an active member of his church and the Knights of Columbus. I could go on the whole committee meeting about all the things that Jerry has done, but it's an absolute privilege to have him and Kenny Fogle here with us today. So thank you.
Jerry, if you would, why don't you step up to the center table there, and if you want, just yes, sir, and wherever you want to sit, and please just tell us about yourself, about maybe 4 or 5 minutes or something like that. Make sure on that, push the button and make sure the light turns green there. There's a hit right at the base there. There you go. Did it turn green?
Yes, sir.
There you go. The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Candy, for having me today. And I wasn't really sure what was going on. I just thought maybe I would sit in on some of the military affairs business here today in Frankfort. But we initiated about a year ago. We have a very small park in Bardstown. It's on East Broadway. Really, there's no parking, no and hardly standing room when we have any types of ceremonies and so forth. So anyway, we initiated and started about a year ago, and we had a groundbreaking ceremony for a new Veterans Park that we've leased 1.2 acres of ground right outside the city from the county. And we had a groundbreaking at Veterans Day, November the 11th. And we have plans, and we're going to build a pretty nice park there with 30 by 60 pavilion with monuments, and we'll honor all veterans and all military, all wars. Our park will also, it'll be a community park as well as a veterans park, in that we'll have digital Wi-Fi there to where there will be history for anyone to come in, and they'll have the technology there to visit parks and also, the monuments, but there will be digital Wi-Fi there that would have histories of all the wars that we've had. So if school teachers wanted to come in and have classes there, they could also do that and teach class there and bring some of our people up to date on some of the military history in Bardstown, Nelson County. And we have been very well representative. We have one of the highest losses per capita in the United States of America in Nelson County, which a lot of people I know do not realize and know, I think. But anyway, it's going to be an educational for military affairs, and also it'll be a community park too. So we've had very good response and from all areas. So we're getting ready to start work here in the next month or so.
Well, thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions real quick for Distinguished Vet? If not, Representative Massaroni, wait, here's the thing. Let's see if Brian can, oh, wait, we got our photographer. Come around this side so we're in the background. Got to get the rookies kind of broken in here on this. So come around, and she has just a small presentation on behalf of Veterans Military Affairs. All right, thank you so much. All right. Let's see. Now I'm getting ready to turn the microphone over to 11 different state reps because we want to welcome all of our new reps on this committee. Everyone heard what a great committee this was, and I guess y'all just lobbied to be here and be on it. So I've mentioned to everyone just to take a brief moment, notice the brief because we have a pretty long agenda here, to just kind of say maybe why you're on it or why you're excited about it or whatever on that. So we'll start from my bottom of the list, Miss Sarah Stalker. If you would go ahead and go. Cut you off guard. You're not used to being at S and being at first, huh?
I'm never used to going first, but thank you. Good morning. I'm Representative Sarah Stalker. I selected to sit on this committee, or requested to sit on this committee, because my father was a Vietnam, and I've had several other folks, friends and family members, serve throughout different areas, and I feel like it's important to support our veterans and think about what public protection at large really looks like, and thinking about that from from lots of different perspectives. So, thanks so much.
Wonderful, Rebecca Raymer.
I'm Representative Rebecca Raymer. I did put this committee down as one of my top picks when I was choosing. I have a deep respect for the men and women who serve our country to keep us safe, and I think it's important that we lobby and protect and stand up for them. So I'm very happy to be on this committee.
Thank you. And Miss Marianne Proctor.
I'm Representative Marianne Proctor. I too selected this committee because of my deep affection for the military. I worked with the military as a speech pathologist for a couple of years at Project Victory, helping our veterans come back from Iraq and Afghanistan who had suffered traumatic brain injury to rehabilitate them and integrate back into society. So it's very special to my heart, and I'm glad to serve on this committee.
Thank you. And Miss Candy Massaroni.
I'm honored to serve on this committee as a veteran and the spouse of a veteran. My husband and I have spent most of our lives serving in the military in one way or another. So I'm very excited to be on this committee and to represent our brothers and sisters that served in Kentucky.
All right, thank you. And Miss Stephanie Dietz.
Good morning. Thank you. I also chose this. Am I on?
You're alive.
I also
Yeah.
chose this because I come from a long history of veterans. Both my grandfather served in World War II. My uncle died in the Vietnam War. My father served in Korea. My husband is also an Army veteran, and I am by trade a family law attorney. So what I see coming through my office a lot of times are the veterans or their spouses. And when I work with them, I don't know that necessarily sometimes we're there to support them with reintegration back into our society with workforce or with their family. So I'm happy to serve on this committee.
Thank you. And the busy guy this morning is Steve Bratcher.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Representative Bratcher, and I am from Elizabethtown. I've served in the Air Force, and I currently continue to serve in the Air National Guard. I've been on numerous deployments, and I think I understand some of the challenges that veterans face. And also, my undergraduate degree is police administration, so we incorporate that as well. So it's my privilege to be able to serve on this committee.
All right, those are our new elected members here, and we got quite a few, and we're so glad to have them, and welcome to the legislative body here. And then we got a new one transferring over, Representative DJ Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. DJ Johnson from the 13th District, Davis County in Owensboro area. And start off with, I'm an 11-year Army veteran, so this is a pretty good place for me to be. I'm actually returning to this committee from, I took a break. I felt like I needed to go out and get some additional experiences in some of the other committees. But two of my favorite groups to work with back home and anywhere is military, veterans, and then our law enforcers and public servants. So I went away for a while, but I couldn't stand it. This is home, and I thank the chairman for allowing me to come back to the committee.
All right. Well, those are our new members, including Tina Bojnowski. I noticed she's not here, so we reserve that maybe next meeting, or even if she comes in a little bit here, we'll catch her too. All right, we're going to go ahead and move straight into our agenda. You see it's kind of lengthy today, and it'll probably start slowing down as session goes on, or picking up, I guess. Representative Bray, you ready? You got a distinguished little guest with you if you want to go down and introduce her too.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Josh Bray from House District 71. And I do have a special guest with me today, my daughter Isla. She is with me on Valentine's Day. We've made sort of a tradition every Valentine's Day she gets to come up here with me, and it's quickly turned into her favorite holiday short of Christmas. So if you can compete with Christmas, you've done a pretty good job. I'm here today to talk about House Bill 153. This was a bill that came through your committee last session as House Bill 29. It passed on the House floor with 77 votes. In short, what it does is it prohibits local law enforcement from using tax dollars to implement a federal firearms ban, ammunition ban. And why this is important now, especially more than ever, is recently, within the past month, the federal ATF has made a ruling on pistol braces that they've determined that now all of a sudden these popular firearm accessories are illegal. So they've given a lot of Kentuckians like myself the option of either registering your firearm or destroying your firearm. Now, this was all done without a single vote. It was simply they've reinterpreted an existing law. It was fine under the Obama administration. It was fine under the Trump administration, but now all of a sudden it's an issue. And so what this does is it declares Kentucky a Second Amendment sanctuary state, and it, like I said, it ensures that our local tax dollars won't be going to enforce Second Amendment issues that the federal government deems to be inappropriate.
Right. I believe I have a motion by Representative Blanton and a second by Representative Cook. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, sir.
You can tell a seasoned veteran, just stop talking there. All right. We do have at least, we got one question. Representative Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Representative Bray, I really appreciate you bringing this bill. A lot of folks across the Commonwealth have reached out looking for legislation like this. And I just have one question. You answered one of my questions already, which I really appreciate. It was in reference to pistol braces, but I just was curious in terms of Section 1B, in the same way, would this prohibit restrictions that are being pushed by the ATF in the future? Anything in terms of what is often erroneously referred to by some as assault weapons?
Absolutely.
Outstanding. And just for clarification's purpose, one of the things that has been asked of me to ask of you is if you would consider adding any type of civil liability for these agencies that might violate it.
Yeah, I mean, anything's on the table. We added, originally last year there wasn't a criminal component to it, and then you placed a floor amendment on there, and we felt it was appropriate to keep that on there. So that stayed on there. So, yeah, anything's on the table.
That sounds great to me. Thank you very much, sir.
Representative Maddox, work with them some. Hopefully we can try to get everything as clean as possible out of committee and not have a lot of floor amendments, but it might be some catch in the Senate or something like that too. So, all right, any other members have any questions or comments? Everyone good, ready to vote? Mr. Secretary, please call roll.
Representative Blanton,
Aye.
Representative Bratcher,
Aye.
Representative Dietz,
Aye.
Representative Freeland,
Yes.
Representative Fugit,
Yes.
Representative Gooch,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Cook,
Aye.
Representative Lewis,
Yes.
Representative Maddox,
Yes.
Representative Massaroni,
Yes.
Representative Proctor,
Yes.
Representative Raymer,
Yes.
Representative Stalker,
I'm going to have to abstain from this. I'll have to abstain. I haven't had enough time to review this bill.
Representative Tackett Lafferty,
Yes.
Representative Wesley,
Yes.
Chair Thomas.
Yes. Alrighty, it passes. I don't believe we have consent this year. Brian, do we? No consent calendars? Okay. So we will look forward to hearing that on the floor, and we appreciate your testimony on it, and appreciate you bringing your lovely daughter there. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee.
all right. So that one does pass. Let's go ahead. We got one more person next door. She'll come through the trap door when we call her, but we'll give her some more time there. Let's see. Representative Bratcher, you ready to do it again? I think you've already presented in education. Now you present in here. Busy day for this young man. And if you have any guests with you, you do. General Bullard, it's always great to see you. Please introduce yourselves, even though a lot of us know you.
Representative Bratcher.
The Brigadier General retired Steve Bullard, Executive Director, Kentucky Commission on Military Affairs in the Governor's Office.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. We are here on House Bill 63, basically an act relating to the military, and it's supported by Department of Military Affairs as well as the National Guard. And I'm going to let General Bullard discuss some of the details of the bill.
Well, I'll be very quick. First, Steve and I served together in the Air Force for a long time, and great to see him on the committee, and welcome to all the new committee members. Glad to have you here. And just very quickly, first, this is an omnibus bill. It's a cleanup bill, 2 technical corrections. First, making it, eliminating the gender preference for males on the veterans bonus by adding or her. Also for fixing a citation correction in the Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission, Interstate Compact on Military Children. They, when the bill was initially passed by all 50 states, this is one of only 8 compacts all 50 states are members of. They inadvertently referred to one area of federal law as a section versus a chapter. We're correcting that because technically a judge could throw out a case if it went into court on technicality. We've actually, over the 50 states since 2007, never had a case go to court. So that's great. And then we also would like to add the National Guard and Reserve to the protections of the compact. And there is a need for that because they do move for military service. For example, in the Kentucky National Guard, you could have a full-time guardsman at the Wendell Ford training site, and they could move to Ashland, due to a reassignment to the 206 engineers, that sort of thing. It's no cost. We would advocate for them anyway. This just gets them into the law. It was requested by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and we would love to add them in. And then lastly, we need to add U.S. Space Force to the definition of military services in Kentucky. This is important. Space Force is brand new. They do not have any assets in Kentucky, but they will have retirees who came to them from the other services who will be retiring as Space Force retirees, and they need to be part of our definition of the law in KRS 40.400 in order for them to qualify for state veterans benefits. Subject to your questions.
All right. Do any members have any questions? Or we have a motion by Representative Hart, second by Representative Johnson. Members, any questions or issues or anything? I'm texting our next presenter and she hasn't responded yet, so I'm stalling y'all a little bit. That's okay. All righty. Well, let's go ahead and, Mr. Secretary, please call roll.
Representative Blanton,
Aye, and Mr. Chairman, it's good to see one of the Bratchers are being active and doing some
That-
work for us.
Representative Bratcher,
Yes, I'll support this one.
Good move.
Representative Dietz,
Aye.
Representative Freeland,
Yes.
Representative Fugit,
Yes.
Representative Gooch,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Aye, good to see you, General.
Representative Cook,
Aye.
Representative Lewis,
Yes.
Representative Maddox,
Yes.
Representative Massaroni,
Yes.
Representative Proctor,
Yes.
Representative Raymer,
Yes.
Representative Stalker,
Yes.
Representative Tackett Lafferty,
Yes.
Representative Wesley,
Yes.
Chair Thomas.
Aye. Passes unanimous. Awesome. Well, thank you. You got one that be ready. You still got to present it on the floor, and you don't get General Billard's help. So,
Thank you, Chair, and thank
Chair
you.
Thomas, I would also like to add one more thing, too.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank Commissioner Jason Glass of the Kentucky Department of Education for their stalwart support of this initiative. They have been fantastic partners.
all right. Thank you, sir. I'm sorry. Our next presenter is getting ready to vote on the bill, so she can't come over yet.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee.
Thank y'all. We appreciate y'all being here and appreciate both of y'all's work there. I was told that HB. Yeah, I'm trying to use them as a segue to the next one, but we're going to go ahead and call up. I believe we have 2 presenters for HB 28. This is Representative Frazier's bill. Would y'all mind talking about it? And Representative Frazier Gordon will come over as soon as she can there. If you would, please introduce yourselves and make sure those green lights are on. There's a little button right there.
Okay, this is a surprise. My name is Sharon Graves. I'm the president of the Madison County Historical Society.
And I'm Donna Kavanaugh.
I checked those buttons there. I'm not sure. Yours is not. Okay. Can you say that again, Don?
I'm Donna Kavanaugh.
Awesome. Alrighty, I hope y'all were ready to talk about it a little bit. This is for our Tuskegee Airmen, but please talk more because we always want to hear about those fine fighters.
We have discovered in Madison County that we have 7 Tuskegee Airmen that either graduated from or went to Richmond High School, which was a colored high school, and they went on to perform in the Tuskegee Airmen program. We have a mural on the side of the Madison County Library of one of those Tuskegee Airmen, First Lieutenant Frank D. Walker. And people don't know who that is. So we decided to put up a historical interpretive marker. And with that, we wanted to have a proclamation making March the 23rd, which is the fourth Thursday in March, as Kentucky State Tuskegee Airmen Day.
This is important to Madison County and to everyone because there's over 1,000 Tuskegee Airmen that are out there. Most of them are deceased now. There's a few still living. But it represents a corps of airmen that did a very exemplary job during World War II. They helped out our own fighter, all the other fighters, by going out first, and they were very distinguished. So we're asking that you help us support them at this time.
All righty. I was just kind of getting clarification, make sure that we can pass this without the bill sponsor being in the room here, but I was told we can, in case that opened it up. I think Representative Hart and Cook there. So, ladies, y'all did a great job. Who needs Deanna there, huh? All righty. Anybody have any questions or comments or any experiences along that line there? So, if not, we'll go ahead and roll or do roll call.
Representative Blanton.
Aye.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes.
Representative Dietz.
Aye.
Representative Freeland.
Yes.
Representative Fugit.
Yes.
Representative Gooch.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Cook.
Aye.
Representative Lewis.
Yes.
Representative Maddox.
Yes.
Representative Massaroni.
Yes.
Representative Proctor.
Yes.
Representative Raymer.
Yes.
Representative Stalker.
Yes.
Representative Tackett Lafferty.
Yes.
Representative Wesley.
Yes.
Chair Thomas.
Hi. Passed unanimous. You did great, ladies. We appreciate y'all being here.
Thank you.
And Deanna's sending it. She said she's voting now on her way. I've told her that y'all did a good job. You already passed it. So
Well, could
thank
I
you.
add that we would like to invite Representative Wesley, who is in Madison County, to come to the ceremony on March the 23rd.
Awesome. That's during our veto period anyway. He'll have some free time.
Thanks again.
All right. So at this time, we are going to move on to our our last bill, but we have a presentation after that. So House Bill 157, Representative Hart, please take the stand. And I believe the slideshow's already pulled up, and you have a couple guests, and I think they've been in front of this committee enough now. They kind of know the routine. Just make sure that green light's on. Introduce yourself, gentlemen. Pull up some extra chairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to make some really brief introductions, and to the committee's probably relief, we have convinced our presentation that we presented to you guys in the interim. We condensed it down from 100 slides or so to 8. So you're going to get the Cliff Notes version.
You actually have a few more minutes. Everyone's going pretty quickly there, so if you need to take a few more minutes, we're okay.
If that's the case,
not the 130. Don't pull that one up, or 150.
Let's reload. But let me make some introductions here real fast. To my far left is Jeremy Slinker, the Director of Kentucky Emergency Management. Then next to him is Lieutenant Doug Hargraves, who is one of my subject matter experts on this in this field or in this issue. On to my direct right is Captain Ryan Hawkston. He's also a subject matter expert. Both these gentlemen are with the Lexington Fire Department, and both of them have experience in this realm on all the local, state, national, and international levels. So they've brought a lot of wealth of information and expertise to this. And then to my far right is Corianne Howard Jackson. She is the Military Affairs Liaison and Military Affairs Legislative and Congressional Liaison. So with their help, we've all put together, we've refined the bill draft. That's the bill that you've got in front of you now. And I'm going to turn this over to Captain Hogston and Lieutenant Hargraves and let them make a brief presentation.
Thank you once again for allowing us to present. We're going to get started with the Kentucky Urban Search and Rescue Initiative. So the question usually is, what is urban search and rescue, and what is in 2022? As you can see on the slide, urban search and rescue is a type of technical rescue operation that involves a highly trained and organized teams. These teams can locate, extricate, and provide initial medical stabilization of victims trapped in urban and rural areas. Once described as mainly a team of structural collapses due to natural disasters, war, terrorism, or accidents, teams today are used for all types of hazards. They are known and organized as all hazards team that follows FEMA guidelines. One thing I'd like to comment on this is the word urban. It gets thrown around a lot. The word for this comes from the federal side, from FEMA, Urban Search and Rescue, which means basically it's not wilderness rescue. It's anything else but wilderness rescue, not going out in the woods searching. And as you can see in this picture here, this is actually from Mayfield last December, December 21, and that's the picture for there.
So what are the capabilities of a task force? Physical search and rescue operations in damaged and collapsed structures, emergency medical care for entombed survivors, task force personnel and search canines, reconnaissance to assess damage and needs and provide feedback to local, state, tribal, and territorial and also federal officials, assessment, shut off of utilities of houses and other buildings, and also hazardous materials surveys and evaluations. One of the things that we are proud of in Breathitt County was we did over 5,000 surveys in that county. And those started on day one as the very first rescue on Highway 15 and 476. We were able to start doing assessments. Also, structural hazard evaluations of buildings needed for immediate occupancy to support disaster relief operations, stabilize and damaged structures, including shoring and cribbing operations on damaged buildings, hazardous materials equipment push packages for operations in a contaminated environment, and then also search and rescue operations in water environments. Again, these teams here you see were in Breathitt County. Captain Hodgson and myself were both in Breathitt County on day one, and our teams, along with other teams there, were able to rescue over 86 people on just day one by boats.
So a little bit of the history of USAR in Kentucky. Obviously, after 9/11, we started getting some federal funding for some of the bigger cities, Louisville, Lexington, things like this. In 2010, it was estimated that over 180 firefighters have received this highly skilled certification of urban search and rescue specialist training. These firefighters stretch from all across the state. These include cities from Paducah to Ashland, Louisville to Campbellsville. A committee was formed then in 2012 and tried for 5 years to make this a much-needed statewide team a reality. First responders traveled to connecting states to join their federal or state teams. This was in the last 12 months. Kentucky has had 2 historical disasters, the largest tornado in Kentucky's history, killing 80, and a 1,000-year flood, killing 39. It's something we want to comment on this. Right now, the funding that we've been getting for these types of training have been federal grants through the state Homeland Security. So as you see here in this map, state and federal urban search and rescue teams in this country, in the United States, there are 43 states that have some type of urban search and rescue team within their state boundaries. As you can see, is the guideline there. We have different teams throughout there. As you can see, the main thing is Kentucky is highlighted in white, or it's not highlighted at all. It's the only team in that area that has no state-sponsored team at all. Every state around us, every state to the south and the southeastern section of the United States has some type of team. This is significant for a couple reasons. One is if a big disaster happens in Kentucky that also affects Ohio or Missouri or any state that surrounds us, we will not be able to get those teams from those states to come and help our state. So we did a capstone in 2014, a capstone exercise that went over this, the big earthquake that happened in the Madrid fault exercise. And with that area, we found that most of the teams that would be activated would be teams from other states, and Kentucky would be left without a team to come and help our own. As you can see here, we have several teams that border Kentucky. Is the teams located here. These are also federal teams that border us: Ohio, Missouri, Tennessee, Indiana, Virginia 1, and Virginia 2. And these teams are federally funded, but they also operate as state teams also. With a big significance of Virginia Task Force 1, who is over in Turkey right now as USA 1. They're actually sending an international team over there to help the earthquakes in Turkey. Good.
So under the plan, we would have 2 task force teams, one in the Louisville area and also one in the central Kentucky area. With those are your larger teams. Those positions include rescue personnel, hazardous material technicians, medical staff, including doctors, also structural engineers. So there will be 2 teams that we under the plan, and they would have a 2-hour response times, and that covers most of the state. With that, also we looked at in the past year and a half, we've also had a lot of other states come into Kentucky. By this right here, we show a 6-hour window and also an 8-hour window, and that is just what we could cover helping our neighbors also. Also under the plan, we would have 10 regional teams. We looked at that and decided that in Kentucky there are 10 EM regions. And one of the things we addressed was that we can't get to certain parts of the state in a reasonable time. With that, we would want to have regional teams, and these are going to be your smaller teams. These are teams that are going to be out there, the first ones on scene to assess the damage, such as in Western Kentucky or in Eastern Kentucky. And this right here, the 10 teams, as we did a 60-mile radius, it pretty much covered the entire state.
And I want to emphasize something. The regional teams are not to take the place of our local rescue teams. They are to enhance them and provide them additional resources to do jobs that they might not be totally equipped for because of the size and magnitude.
So the big question now is, what's the cost, all right? What would this program cost the Commonwealth? So we took into consideration the following guidelines: FEMA, SUSAR, which is the State Urban Search and Rescue Programs, NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association, and EMAP guidelines. Realistic times for developing and training, equipment and fleet, current supply chains, which we all know are very, very time-consuming now. We were looking the other day, just to get a cab and chassis for a new truck is going to take us almost 400 days just to get a new cab and chassis for any type of truck. A new fire truck has taken us about 1,000 days to have a new fire truck delivered. The geographics of Kentucky, all those things were put in to come up with this cost. This cost is an average of what we found with the current costs that we could do. Year one would be a $12 million, almost $13 million process. Same in year 2, and then year 3 through 10 would be our maintenance years to keep the equipment up, keep the training up through those years. So those are our total costs as of this time. And once again, we'd like to thank you for giving us an opportunity to come and speak of this. It's much smaller this time as far as the presentation. We do have information if anybody would like to ask questions or have anything answered for them at this time.
And if we could hold off, before we do the questions, I want to go ahead and turn it over to EM Director Slinker for his comments.
Hey, good morning, Chair and committee. Thanks for having me, and I appreciate my esteemed colleagues and their professionalism for providing a good foundation and a good starting point for this endeavor. You know, in preparedness, which is part of emergency management, that's one of our primary goals is to be prepared. Often you have to speculate on your needs of what may come with a disaster. But what I would point out here in our 2 most recent, largest ones in Kentucky's history, the tornadoes in December of 21 and the floods of 22, summer of 22, each one of those 4 urban search and rescue teams were deployed. Some of those you've seen on the map: Indiana, Missouri, Tennessee, and Ohio. So I think at this time we don't have to speculate that urban search and rescue would be useful in those size of disasters. The 2 unfortunately have shown us that it's needed. And I would agree, currently, the Kentucky USAR endeavor has been there for a decade or more, as well. You know, we've talked and I've caught up with it over the years to see the progress. Funding has often been the issue, and and that's the one place that I'll just interject. We fully support the endeavor. It makes a lot of sense since Chapter 39. F particularly is search and rescue in state law, so it would make only sense to place it under the existing search and rescue, because that is one thing that as we began our discussions, and Representative Hart mentioned it, is we have over 100 very skilled, highly trained local search and rescue teams in the state that coordinate through Kentucky Emergency Management. And so by no means, again, we want to make sure we're communicating this is not a replacement, or this is not a lack of confidence in their skill. It's just like in any profession, whether it's military, law enforcement, fire, EMS, there's always tiers of training and specialization. This is a more specialized approach for those biggest and most, biggest disasters that have the most needs. So we want it to be an enhancement. If this can move forward, an enhancement to those local teams, give them something they can also train and be a part of their local team, as well as maybe urban search and rescue team, and as well maybe enhance some of their funding opportunities as well. And that would be what I would ask for the committee to take in consideration as you consider this, is also moving search and rescue in general in the state forward, as those local teams are your first in. Now, what this would add would be the second in, instead of waiting for the out-of-state team. So we would get that first in, second in, which we don't currently have, unless we call on mutual aid, like has happened. They've described they went down as Lexington Fire Department, and we've had other fire departments respond under mutual aid. But that puts a large burden on those departments as their skill has now moved out of their areas and having to respond to another area. This is a chance for the state to take on that burden as well, to make sure while we're responding to a large disaster, all areas that aren't impacted by disaster are still covered as well. Thank you.
Now I'm going to turn it over to Corey Ann for her comments.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I'll be very brief. Chairman Thomas has trained me well. No, we've all worked really hard on together as a team, collaboratively on this piece of legislation, and we're supportive of it. And you provide the funding, and then we'll really be supportive of it. Thank you.
And one last thing that I'll mention: when you look at the bill itself, there's not a funding mechanism in this bill. We will be following up next year during the budget cycle with a funding mechanism. What this bill does, it creates the program. It establishes it by statute, and it gives emergency management the opportunity to start putting things in place and doing the research that's necessary, so that when we come back with the funding bill, we'll have more definitive cost, and we can maybe tailor it down to where it might not be as much as what we're projecting right now. With that, we're willing to entertain any questions.
All right. Well, we appreciate your presentation, and it's just so nice to have the executive branch, the legislative branch, the guardsmen, all working together to support and help our citizens of Kentucky. That's really impressive. I know there's been numerous meetings, because I've sat in quite a few of them, and we really appreciate y'all being here and doing this. We do have some questions for you, though. Representative Bratcher.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your presentation and commitment to serve. If we could go back to the other slide where we had the Kentucky was in white, I believe. I just had a question concerning the National Guard. I know that Kentucky, in both the flooding as well as in the tornadoes and ice storms and other things that have come up. So have we considered utilizing, or do they have the capabilities or things necessary in order not to? I know that people look at the amount of dollars that's attached to this potential bill. So how does that kind of fit into the big picture of the urban search and rescue?
So the National Guard is a big hand in many states, right? And we use them as a force multiplier, truly. In Mayfield and something like the Eastern Kentucky floods, the helicopters back to Mayfield, we use them immensely in those areas. Their response to Mayfield was a big asset. The biggest thing that we used them for at that time was more of a security aspect at that time, which was good. They did work on the piles themselves, but they were there for security. But they went in seamlessly with us. And then later on in those evolutions, we got the National Guard as, once again, force multipliers, because when you can get 100 people that are all on the same page and listening to one person, you can get a lot of stuff done. So when we got that established through, they were able to fall into the urban search and rescue with the federal, the city and state teams that we had responding, and they were able to jump in. And I can't use the word enough, they're a huge force multiplier. So yes, they would be involved in that in some aspect.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so concur with what Captain said. And that is part of what Representative Hart said. With some time and getting it initiated, we can sit down and kind of really dig into the details more about what assets the state and the National Guard currently have, and how would that potentially change that overall cost estimate at the end of the day. So those are definitely being talked about. Just would need the time to really sit down and work that out. And there has been some, starting informal conversations with the different units of the National Guard and how they could play a role in this endeavor as well.
Thank you.
All right, we have another question by Representative Blanton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And supportive of what you're all trying to accomplish here. But just for clarification, for myself, I got a couple questions. One, you talk about the two urban rescue teams. Basically, they're going to be the two main teams in the state, one being in Louisville, and I'm going to be presumptive here and say the other one probably Lexington. Are those two teams, will they be full-time teams, or will they continue to be members of the units within the city of Louisville? That's who they're getting paid by, and let's say the city of Lexington, for argument's sake, or would they become employees of the state?
We'll go with that. Do you want me to answer?
You start, I'll follow up.
Okay, so that's a great question, and we're using this as a similar to other department or other states have done. I'm a member of Ohio Task Force 1 also, which is one of the federal teams, and I am a member of the Lexington Fire Department. Lexington Fire Department and Ohio Task Force have signed a memorandum of understanding that allows me to respond as Ohio Task Force. So I still get paid by the Lexington Fire Department. They still pay me, but when I get put onto the deployment type through the federal government, the Lexington Fire Department gets reimbursed for me. So I am a member of the Lexington Fire Department being used by Ohio Task Force. So that's how that's what we have modeled this after, and that would be similar there. So yes, to answer your questions, firefighters in Louisville, Lexington, Ashland, Campbellsville, Bowling Green, wherever they were, they would still be members of those fire departments, and we do this as an auxiliary type team.
Very good follow-up question. And in dealing with the 10 regional teams, who will be responsible for coordinating that, choosing who's going to be a member of those 10 regional teams? Is it going to be, you mentioned Ashland, is it going to be an entire team made up of Ashland firefighters? Is it going to be made up of hand-picked individuals from multiple counties throughout the region? Who coordinates, and how is that going to look?
That's a great question. So if you can think of the best way I can describe this, and please don't let me implicate that we're trying to say that we're special operations from the military, because we're not. But we liken it to that. SWAT teams of the police, special operations in the military, those are the type of people that we'd be looking for in the fire and rescue EMS business, okay? So those are the type of people that we'd be looking for. Through this program that we're establishing, we're hoping that the director of search and rescue, and then the director and his people underneath him within the urban search and rescue section would be those people to go through that. The federal system already has a system set up of task force leaders, team managers, and on down the chain of command, and we would follow that to the best of our ability. But yes, it would be an application. In our mind, it's an application process. And it's not something that you can just come on and be. You have to have certain certificates, certain qualifications, certain man hours to be able to do that. So no, it wouldn't just be Ashland Fire and Lexington Fire. It would be by those regions. And the way the state EM has the regions out, it's about 12 counties per region. So you'd be drawing from those 12 counties for that one regional team.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner. Yeah.
Well, again, I've learned, maybe no need to talk, but just to follow up with Representative Blank's question, because I think I know what he's asking for clarification. Even the Lexington and Louisville is an area, and that was kind of just described as an area, and it would not only be Lexington Fire or Louisville Fire, it would be multiple fire departments, search and rescue, people that had those skills in those large geographical areas. So it's not a one or two department, and that was something we worked out early on, that this had opportunities for the entire state.
Great question. All right, Representative Fugit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Comment and a question or two, please. So it'd probably take me all day to thank you all for all the work that you did down in Southeast Kentucky in my district and other districts around us back in July. And all the local departments, emergency management, the departments from outside, I think, saved many lives, no doubt, because of your all's actions. Director Slinker and his direction and all he's done for the state and all he's done to help our people back home. And Representative Hart, thank you for this legislation. I think it's needed, and the National Guard and all the people that they rescued by helicopter down there on those bad nights that we had. One question is, Fish and Wildlife is really active in rescue. They're trained swimmers in different areas of rescue. Would they or could they, as their units, be part of those regional teams, because they're always one of the first responders to any disaster or anything that goes on? Fish and Wildlife officers are always there. Would they or could they be part of these regional teams to help assess the damage and to be part of that rescue?
Absolutely. In my opinion, we worked well with them in Eastern Kentucky during the floodings. They were immense in some of the operations that we had side by side. So this USAR team we'll have civilians, we'll have anybody on it, from structural engineers to anybody that's willing and is willing to get the certifications to do this. So water rescue, like Fish and Wildlife would be definitely one of those type of people that we would want for sure. As far as the administration and how they would fit into that, that's above my pay grade question. But I'll let
I think it would be just like the National Guard. The next step is to see what those state assets that are already here that we could just maybe enhance or increase some capabilities, and see how that would supply into this plan, and then change that ultimate outcome of the funding estimate. May fluctuate with, we may already have some of that, or where it costs less to stand up Fish and Wildlife. So I think that's the next step to really digging into where they could help.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a couple more questions. Representative Johnson.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, as what happens in most of the committees I seem to be in right now, Representative Blanton asked my question. So I'll just move things along a little bit and say motion on the bill.
We got a motion, and where's the second? Representative Blanton. All righty, we do have one more question. If anyone else does, Representative Wesley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a comment. I wanted to thank Representative Hart for coming to Breathitt County, and also with you giving us a tour of your command center. It helped us out tremendously. I also want to thank Fish and Wildlife for coming. They rescued so many people at that time, and so I just wanted to say that thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. These gentlemen invited my wife and I to come and do some training, or to oversee some training over in Lexington, and just amazing when I saw, shoring up a building these guys suddenly kick in and they become carpenters. I mean, they're framing doors and everything else, trying to keep that, unit up. And then also with giant cranes lifting cars off of people that are pinned underneath. Really awesome. So we appreciate what you do. All right, is everyone good? No more questions? And we have a motion and a second. So, Mr. Secretary, please call roll.
Representative Blanton.
Aye.
Representative Bojanowski.
Aye.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes.
Representative Dietz.
Yes.
Representative Freeland.
Yes.
Representative Fugit.
Yes.
Representative Gooch.
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Cook,
Yes.
Representative Lewis,
Yes.
Representative Maddox,
Yes.
Representative Massaroni,
Yes.
Representative Proctor,
Yes.
Representative Raymer,
Yes.
Representative Stalker,
Yes.
Representative Tackett Lafferty,
Yes.
Representative Wesley,
Yes.
Chair Thomas.
Aye. Passed unanimous there. We'll look forward to hearing that on the floor. We appreciate you being here, and Representative Hart, you stay there. Gentlemen and ladies, thank y'all for being here, and we'll let you switch out real quick while we're going to put Representative Bojanowski on the clock here. I invited everyone, new members, and we're sure glad to have you, just to give about a minute or so of why you're on the committee and chose to be.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be on this committee. I do not know much about this area, although my father was a veteran. So, I think that there are so many facets of state government that it's important to understand each of the different committees. And so I'd say that's why I'm here.
We're glad to have you. All right, we got another presentation. If I think we have a few here. Holly, do you want to bring your entourage up here? Got a few, and I believe there's a somewhat of a slide presentation. Are y'all comfortable at getting it started or so down there? I see it's already up there. FirstNet, look at y'all. Gentlemen, if you would there is make sure that green light is on. If y'all are speaking, please introduce yourselves for the record, and we appreciate y'all being here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Aaron Elert with the FirstNet Authority under the U.S. Department of Commerce. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss a little bit about FirstNet with you today. I'm going to take it from the federal standpoint as oversight of the nationwide project, and let the gentleman to my right talk about implementation and operationalization of FirstNet. FirstNet is the nationwide public safety broadband network for public safety by public safety. Signed into law in 2012 after years of hard work by public safety and as a result of the 9/11 Commission, FirstNet Authority engagement with public safety began in 2013, and Phase 1 culminated in the award of a competitively bid 25-year contract awarded to AT&T in 2017. Next came the state plan process implemented between the FirstNet Authority and all 56 states and territories. And during this process, all 56 state and territorial governors opted in to the plans created by FirstNet and AT&T in consultation with public safety. We are now close to completing the initial 5-year build-out of the network and are turning our attention to further engagement with public safety to reinvest in the network over the remaining 20 years of the contract. Thank you.
Hold on. There we go. Thank you, sir. My name is William Hunt. I serve as the Chief of Police in the city of Somerset, and we are on the FirstNet plan with our city. And most things we look at these days, you look at a couple things, especially in the recession, is does a product work, and then cost. Obviously, this system is working very well. So the thing I was going to touch on is cost and how it's helped us in our community. When we switched over to FirstNet, we were paying roughly $150 per phone for our city employees. And when we went to FirstNet, they were provided the same phone for free, no cost. iPads was another thing that we used commonly doing our jobs. We were paying almost $360 a piece for iPads, and the exact same iPad we received at no cost as well from FirstNet. We also switched up to in our plan. Previously, we was only able to switch out our phones every 2 years, and it went to a 10-month rotation, so that helped us as well. Something else that became available to us was a local store at AT&T. They were able to service us with products and accessories to where our previous provider did not have a local store, and everything had to be ordered and shipped to us, so that was another help. We also received, for every phone line that we switched from our previous provider, we received a $200 bill credit per line, and that equaled in 1 month $13,000 in savings for our city in just 1 month. They also allowed us to trade in equipment, which we were previously not allowed to do. And in our building, we have an area in our basement that you essentially cannot get any cell service. FirstNet was able to provide us a mini cell station that initially would have cost $5,000 to be able to have cell service in that area of the building. They provided that at no cost as well. So in essence, the main thing I will tell you about FirstNet, it saved our citizens a lot of money in tax dollars. In our first year with FirstNet, we saved $35,000 in equipment savings, $34,000 in bill credits. We are saving $5,800 a year in just our phone line service, and it saved our citizens in our first year almost $75,000 in savings for our tax dollars. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Drew Taylor. I'm the Chief Information Officer for Hopkins County Schools. We've been using FirstNet on cell phones for a few years, but we're always looking for innovative ways to integrate things, in different areas. And so one of those areas was transportation, where there was a need. There was a safety need, there's a communication need, and so we wanted to improve those things. So we, instead of using the CB radios that historically have always been used, we looked at using bus tablets. So they're Samsung Galaxy tablets, and we're able to manage those with an MDM, mobile device manager, and we can put them in kiosk mode so we can lock them down. So bus drivers and students can't do really anything else on them. We can push apps. We can control the security on them. We can configure and push settings to them. We can remotely connect to them, and we can even enable the hotspot for other uses. So a couple of the apps that we installed that we thought would be useful is, of course, the AT&T Push-to-Talk app that allows them to use it as a radio system. We put Google Maps on there, so bus drivers can navigate in areas that they're unfamiliar with. We even put Google Translate on there just in case bus drivers encounter families that do not speak English. So at least they have a little bit of a crutch there to communicate. And we also installed Wayfinder, which is a subset of Transponder, which is our bus routing software. We haven't implemented that yet, but we're going to, and that's going to be used as routing software for new bus drivers, for sub-bus drivers, for check-in, check-out, those type of things. And we're going to integrate our camera system, our bus camera system, because of the Wi-Fi hotspot, so we don't have to pay for a separate cellular signal to connect those to the cloud. So we can get real-time camera footage. It'll connect directly to the internet, so it's saved in the cloud. Some of the benefits of the AT&T system, the FirstNet system, is it's all encrypted. So you don't have to worry about people with scanners picking up the traffic. So people can talk freely. They can, if there's some type of emergency, they can use names, they can use addresses, they can talk freely without fear of someone picking that up and becoming a safety issue. There's no longer dead spots in our county. So we were using the radio towers. There was lots of dead spots. There are no longer dead spots because we're using the FirstNet towers. We can isolate conversations. So bus driver comes to the radio, dispatch can isolate that conversation so it doesn't go over everyone's radio in certain situations. It's got priority traffic. So it's, it takes priority over regular cell calls, text messages, videos, any of those things. It takes first priority. We're able to use it outside the county. So field trips to Florida. When they go outside the county, they can use their bus radio system, whereas before we could not do that. And the last thing that I really want to emphasize is if a tower goes down, AT&T can bring in mobile units for FirstNet, and you're immediately back up. And on top of getting to it quickly to fix the initial tower, but we actually had a situation, if we were still on the old radio towers, we would not have a bus radio system right now because one of the main towers in our county was struck by lightning, which destroyed it and the generator. So because of moving to FirstNet and this solution, we continue to have communications with our bus and transportation.
Awesome. Y'all good? Well, thank you so much for presenting. Do any members have any questions for this esteemed group? This is, I'm sure, in Eastern Kentucky, this was a big part of being able to bring in those mobile devices, especially trying to, as they say, get communications in the hollers there. So, Representative Bratcher has a comment or a question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair. Is the system limited to AT&T system?
Yes. So under the legislation that was passed by Congress in 2012, the envisioning of public safety was a single nationwide network dedicated to public safety. Throughout the process of leading up to the RFP that was issued by the federal government and ultimate award to AT&T, we did a request for comments, public notice, things of that nature, and everyone, including industry, the cellular industry, responded that it needs to be a single carrier. So that's how the RFP was issued. The network is comprised primarily of dedicated spectrum. I don't want to get too technical, but Congress allocated 20 megahertz of spectrum to public safety, and that is the backbone of the FirstNet network, and that is licensed from the Department of Commerce, FirstNet Authority, to AT&T for use on the network.
So you had explained about you can have private conversations and things. Are these secure? Is it a secure network, encrypted?
Correct. Yes, there's a dedicated core, which is kind of the brain of any cellular network. FirstNet is the only network with a dedicated core with enhanced security on it.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, I believe that was it on questions. Representative Hart, I believe, has. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Representative Tackett Lafferty.
Actually, your comment did lead me to the question, what about in areas where there's not a lot of signal with AT&T? Is there going to be some sort of special ability to enhance that service through this carrier?
So yes, potentially. So like I said, we under the contract, we're nearing March of 2023, wraps up the initial 5-year build out of the contract. Mm-hmm. That's kind of phase one of the creation of FirstNet. Over the life of the contract, so the remaining 20 years, AT&T has to pay back the federal government approximately $18 billion for use of that spectrum, that dedicated spectrum, in which we will reinvest all of that back into the network to provide additional coverage, things of that nature where needed. Also, the deployable program under the FirstNet network, we have over 150 assets scattered across the country that can be called up for free of charge by FirstNet subscribers to be used in those very areas. And just like with the search and rescue presentation before, the recent hurricanes in Florida, we had teams basically married to the urban search and rescue teams, and as they moved, our deployables moved with them to provide coverage.
All right, thank you very much.
All righty. I see people coming in, so but I was thinking there wasn't another meeting until later on, but apparently there could be. Representative Hart has a presentation, I believe, for y'all, and we'll come up. We can get a good group photo. We got, I'm sorry, Bojanowski, Representative Bojanowski.
Yeah, while they're getting set, can I record a vote?
Yes, you sure may.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to record a yes vote on HB 28 and HB 63, and I'd like to record a no vote on HB 153. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I meant to let you do that. We got a photographer coming up here to take a picture, and if
she's getting ready, on behalf of the Kentucky House of Representatives, I'd like to present Mr. Carlos Sanchez, President and CEO of AT&T, a citation of appreciation for the First Responder Network Authority. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank y'all so much. Did you want to say a few words or anything?
Well, I know you're running out of time, so appreciate this opportunity to present the results of FirstNet in Kentucky. And appreciate how all different communities and local law enforcement and first responders have embraced FirstNet in Kentucky. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate y'all do. All righty. Is there any other business needs to come in front of the committee? If not, we will be meeting next week. Members, and I'm sorry, Ashley, but we are probably going to start meeting at 9. Education's going to be at 8, us at 9, and A&R at 10. That way we feel like we can lose as few members as possible. So 9 o'clock next Tuesday. If there's